Okay, y'all. This is gonna be my first YouTube video, if this works. What I'm doing is I am changing my radius arm bushings. What I'm working on is a 96 Ford Ranger. And ever since I bought the truck, it's been making this horrible clunk clank sound. Well, I got on the internet and researched it, and ball joints. So I changed the ball joints. Still didn't fix it. Next thing was the shock. Changed it. I haven't changed the springs yet, but in the middle of changing the shock, I discovered it was this radius arm bushing. And I don't have the proper tools to change, the spring and stuff. And all the videos I've watched, you have to take the spring off. I've already changed this. In some videos they take that off, and they take the tire off, and then they take the brake caliper off. And some of them, the videos I looked at to change this radius arm bushing, they even took the rotor off. Well, I got to looking, and I said, well, screw that, because I didn't have the proper tools to change all of that to begin with, which I did without the proper tools. I don't know if y'all can see that, but this right here is what we're changing, and you can see it. It's horrible. I don't know how I didn't catch it before. But I thought, well, why not just take this cross member off? And I talked to some people, and they said, well, it ain't never, ever, ever gonna work. But I believe it's gonna work, because as I am loosening these two bolts here, it's lowering down. So I'm gonna get some jacks and put underneath each arm, each of the radius arms. Right here's one, and you can see the other one right there. And I'm just gonna lower it down as I take the bolts up. But I ain't gonna lie, it was a pain in the butt getting to this bolt here, because of this catalytic converter here. And on the other side there, you gotta take that there fuel filter. There's a clamp that holds it on, which is sitting right there on my jack, or my jack stand. I don't know if you can see it or not, but you have to take that off to be able to get to the bolt. And it's a really pain in the butt to do it this way, but I really didn't want to change it the other way to take all the crap off that I've already changed anyway. But right there is what I'm changing. And oh my gosh, it is horrible. But so far it looks like it's gonna work. And then these bolts right here were a pain in the butt to break off, like broke loose. What I actually did was I used these clamps here. These just trigger operated like lumber clamps. And on this side, to break them loose, I put a wrench on this one right there, a socket wrench on that one that's closest to the motor. Put a socket wrench on it, and took that clamp and closed it right here against this cross member that we're taking out. And I just clamped it and clamped it and clamped it, and it broke it loose. And then on the other one, I had to take a 15mm wrench and put on this bolt here. And then there is this frame mount that, mounts the body to the frame, and I just put it on this side of it and pulled it this way. The other side was a little different because, to loosen it, you're going the other direction. So what I did there to get it broke loose, I still use the same socket wrench and box wrench. But what I did on this side, I can't see if y'all can see. The sun is in my eyes. Okay. Is I turned the clamp around so it would push instead of pull. And used the same wrench for both bolts. You know, use the socket one on the one closest to the motor and use the box one on the one that's towards the back. And I hooked this cross member right here that goes to the transmission, and I just pushed, and that broke it loose. So this could be a way of doing this, and I will keep y'all updated on it. Okay, y'all, I'm back. It works. It like really works. One thing I forgot to mention though is how I jacked the vehicle. And how I jacked the vehicle was I jacked it up just enough to where I could get underneath it, but the tires were still firmly on the ground. Well, I got the cross member off. I don't know if y'all can see it. But the problem is, and I mean, I got jacks underneath it and they were working at first. But, I mean, that one's barely attached anymore. That one over there ain't attached at all. So, what I'm doing, see, I mean, that's not even attached at all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jack the vehicle up. Because the problem is this right here is in the way of me getting it off the frame and the cross member there. Over here, you know, that jack's not attached at all either. Over here, I can see so much better over here, see what y'all are seeing on camera. See, it's up in there. It's catching on the frame. But as I jack the vehicle up, I don't know what y'all can see. I'm trying to see what y'all can see. As I jack the vehicle up, the cross member's moving. It's lowering itself. So, I should be able to get this thing out. But yeah, that's all for right now this minute. I will see what I can get done and I will update you. Got it off. If there's the cross member, there's the radius arms. And the bushings at the end of them is what we're changing. And as you can see, you know, I mean, when I took the bolt off, I took everything off on the back side of it. But right there, there's nothing on the front side of it. And over there, you can see that there's still a bushing left. But since the jacks weren't really doing anything, I jacked the vehicle up and it lowered it on that side, but it really wouldn't do it on this side. So I took the jack and kind of separated it just a little. I don't believe it'll hurt anything doing that because I couldn't pull down on it, separate it long enough to pull it off. But, you know, the jack held it for me so I could pull it off. And I will show you what I got in a minute. I got it out. Oh, I can't even see what the screen looks like on this side. I got it out. And I put the new bushings in, and I'm in the process of putting the cross member back on. Oh. I couldn't take a video of it last night because, you know, it was dark. But here's the way I did the bushings. I did the round washer, you know, the curved washer rather, and then the big bushing. And then on this side, you can see it better on that side, I did the black plastic sleeve. Then I did the little red bushing. Then I did the flat washer. And one thing I forgot to mention, I didn't even really discover till last night, when I was putting those two bolts right there back in, is on the other side of the frame, they don't like bolt to the frame, they bolt to a clip that is underneath, or on the other side of the frame rather, and both bolts go into one clip. So you have to go underneath and line the bolts up through the cross member, then line them up through the frame, and then line them up with those two holes in that bracket. But once you take the bolts out, the bracket's not attached to anything. What I'm doing now is I've got both sides. I got both sides of those two bolts bolted up, or lined up and started. And I had to get the jacks underneath it to raise it into position. Now the tricky part now is going to be lining all these other holes up, because there's one hole right here and one bolt hole right there, and they need to be lined up. I'm gonna line them up, put the bolts in, and then tighten everything down, and I'll let y'all know how that goes. Okay, these are the tools that I basically used. I mean, there's a few more, but basically all you're really going to need is a big O socket wrench. This one right here is a torque wrench actually, but it's the biggest socket wrench I have. You got to use that as a breaker bar. You need, you know, 2 or 3 little wrenches, like, you know, just the middle drive. You need a 15mm wrench, 5/8 inch wrench, an 11/16 socket, or more than one, like as many sockets as you can have that are the same size, the better off you are, so you can find something better, you know, lengthwise for what you're looking for. These two are 5/8, and that's a 15. The 11/16 and the 5/8 are for the bolts that are going sideways horizontally through the frame. There's 4 of them. Let me put the phone down for just a second. The 11/16 goes on the outside of the frame, and the 5/8 goes on the inside of the frame. You need a bunch of extensions. I really didn't need any for the 1/2 inch drive, but for this drive here, I needed a bunch of different ones, because I know it's going to be hard for y'all to tell, but that length difference in those 2 extensions made the difference. This one right here was too long, And this right here was just the right length. And it was what they were catching on. What the problem was this here catalytic converter being in the way. Well, not that one, this one up here. And that was for that boat right there. That one. A 15mm wrench here is for the vertical bolts right there. And what I did was I just used this wrench, and I used a socket wrench on this one because you can reach, but on this one you can't get up in there with a socket. So I just used a wrench, and like I said, I used those clamps just to clamp it to random, to whatever I could find to break it loose. Another thing you're going to need is a 15, I'm sorry, not a 15, I believe this is a half inch socket to fit this bolt right here, or actually this nut. And what this is the clamp that holds the fuel filter on, and you got to get it out of the way to take that bolt right there off. Let's see if you can see it. Can y'all see that? Right there. Yeah. You gotta have it take that bolt off because the fuel filter is just sitting right here on this other side. And that's the clamp that holds it. You can kind of see the hole right there. And another thing you're going to need is a socket for this. I forget what size it is. I'll look and I'll tell you. It is, I just looked up and happened to have one from working on hitch valves, receiver valves. But that is a 1 1/8. Another thing I like to have is one of these things right here. I forget where I got this from or what it's even called, but it's made by Craftsman. And it just got a bunch of different sockets on it. And I like to have that anytime I'm crawling underneath the vehicle, working on anything. So that way I can just go underneath there and bam, 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 check what size it is instead of having to drag a folding toolbox underneath there with me that has the sockets in it, a socket set underneath there with me, and trying to get the sockets out, trying to see what the socket is as I'm trying to get it out, and trying to do all that underneath the vehicle whenever you can't even sit up.